Radio Hall of Fame. The Radio Hall of Fame is presented during the full hour ahead by Philco Corporation, makers today of electronic battle equipment for the fighting forces of the United Nations, makers tomorrow of equipment for good living in a free world united by victory. Cooperating with Philco are the editors and correspondents of Variety, who report for the Philco program all the news of all show business the world over every week. This week, the editors of Variety recommend for your pleasure, and Philco delights to honor in your name,
from Motion Pictures, Joan Fontaine. From Stage and Screen, Frederick March. From Radio and Nightclubs, Jimmy Durante. From the Metropolitan Opera, Bilou Sayol. From Radio and the Concert Stage, Alec Templeton. From the Network Newsroom, Lowell Thomas. Conducting the Philco Hall of Fame Orchestra and Chorus, Paul Whiteman.
Our master of ceremonies, the distinguished composer, author, and commentator, Deems Taylor.
Good afternoon. This is Deems Taylor speaking for Philco. We're here today among new surroundings to take part in an occasion of rather special significance, and I believe that you of the radio audience should be made aware of these proceedings. Mr. Riggs, will you please explain?
The Radio Hall of Fame is being brought to you today from Philadelphia, the home of Philco. Assembled here in the Academy of Music is an audience of patriotic Americans, war bond buyers, each of whom has done his or her part to back the attack in the fourth war loan drive. It is a source of pleasure and satisfaction to the cast of today's program, to the Emergency Aid of Pennsylvania, to the Philadelphia Retail Merchants War Bond Committee, and to Philco, that our studio audience here has added $7,415,000 to Philadelphia's total in the fourth war loan drive. Now, here again is Deems Taylor.
And you in your homes are invited to listen to this following full hour of entertainment, and may your conscience and your purse decide what your price of admission in terms of war bonds should be. And so, to Paul Whiteman and the chorus and orchestra in a Whiteman cameo overture of the spirited tunes of our many armed services.
right on the mountain ever for thee.
Variety recommends, and the Philco Radio Hall of Fame is certainly honored in welcoming Alec Templeton. Mr. Templeton might be described as the problem child of music, one who delights to place tacks upon the seats of the mighty and strew banana peels upon the paths of glory. He is that rare creature, a serious musician who's not solemn. He'll play you libelous trifles such as Mendelssohn Mows 'Em Down or Debussy and Dubuque, or conversely, he'll make you a very respectable sonata out of Mairzy Doats. But there's no point in explaining Alec Templeton. The thing to do is to hear him. And what we're going to hear are two favorite routines from his Wednesday night Cresta Blanca Carnival. One from his Modernizing the Master series, the other from his famous musical impressions. Mr. Templeton, take over.
Thank you very much, Dean. Well, to start off here is one of the Modernizing the Masters, which began with Bach Goes to Town and Mozart Matriculates, Mozart a la mode, Doings at the Ruins, and Hep Hep Bourrée. Well, this one is, we deal with Corelli. He was the old Italian master who wrote a lot of dance music of his time, such as jigs, minuets, courants, and sarabands, and they went something like this. Well, here's my idea of the way Corelli might have written if he were alive today and were deep in the heart of Texas. He was going to write a Western cowboy tune. He might have called it Corelli in the Old Corral. Well, you all know this tune. It's one of Irving Berlin's best. Marie, the dawn is breaking. Marie, you'll soon be waking to find your heart is aching. Marie, Marie. Now I'd like to show you how some of these jive, swingaroo bands and singers give you a kind of a $64 question by daring you to recognize either the words or the tune of Marie when they sing it, and it sounds like this. Oh, Marie, don't break, yeah, Marie, you soon wait to find your heart is aching, yeah, and this wistful as you recover, yeah. Moving all is splendor, oh, get the very center. All words you spread up, beep up, beep up, Marie, get, but up, beep up, beep, oh, the moon in all its splendor, yeah, that is all. Beep up, but up, all words you spread, beep up, Marie, yeah, but up, beep up, yeah.
A musical instrument of quality. For years, that phrase was known everywhere to describe America's favorite radio, a Philco. Today, more people are listening to this program and to all programs over a Philco than any other make of radio. And now, when quality counts, more than 17 million Philco radios are showing their stamina in the homes of America. After the war, Philco will be known again for quality in more millions of American homes. Quality that has been enhanced by new knowledge, new experience, and the new demands of war production. And then you'll see and hear that phrase again to describe the finest in radio, phonograph, and television entertainment. A Philco, a musical instrument of quality.
Sometimes you'll find an opera singer with a great voice. Sometimes you'll find one who has beauty, charm, and dramatic talent. Once in a blue moon, you'll run across one who has all of these. And then you have a great opera singer. We have one with us today. Her name is Bidou Sayao. Exactly 7 years ago today, on February 13th, 1937, she made her first appearance at the Metropolitan Opera House in New York. Only yesterday, she scored a triumph as Violetta in La Traviata. Variety recommends, and Philco is proud to present Bidou Sayao singing her first act aria. Enter Bidou Sayao.
Forse lui che
Miss Joan Fontaine is the luminous lady whom we've all watched moving apprehensively through the ancestral halls Hollywood built, belonging variously to Laurence Olivier, Cary Grant, and Orson Welles. Miss Fontaine has already won Academy Award for her performance in Suspicion, and there is serious talk about her winning another Oscar for her work in The Constant Nymph. In her current 20th Century Fox picture, Jane Eyre, co-starring Orson Welles, she gives another brilliant performance. And now the Radio Hall of Fame presents Miss Joan Fontaine, by arrangement with David O. Selznick, in an impression of Jane Eyre from the novel by Charlotte Bronte.
The dream is ended, and the wind sweeps unbroken and unmolested across the moor, and does not halt for walls or battlements or turrets. For Thornfield Hall, where I came to find a home and peace, and found instead the tumult of a tortured spirit. Thornfield Hall is gone, and the wind is master of the moor. For months after I came to Thornfield to be governess to little Adele, I did not see Edward Rochester, her guardian, they said, and master of the hall. Then, one morning, out of the swirling mists upon the moorlands, a giant of a horse and rider all but ran me down.
Who the devil are you, anyhow, to be walking on the moor road in the fog? Do you want to be killed?
And that was how Edward Rochester, the wanderer, came back to Thornfield, and the terror that dwelt within it. Edward Rochester was a dark, moody man who held a certain mocking brusquerie in front of him like a spear, not so much to wound, I found out, but to prevent himself from being wounded first. I was the only one at Thornfield who came to understand that. He seemed to feel it, and he came to trust me in his blunt, awkward way. Then one day, he came upon me painting near the river, but painting no scene that earthly man had ever gazed upon.
That's an odd sort of picture. What on earth is it? What does it mean?
I hardly knew. My painting showed a pinnacle of an iceberg, glittering in a cheerless sunlight of a polar sky. In the forehead, surrounded by clouds, was a colossal head with a dark veil before it. The brow was bloodless, white as bone. The eyes hollow and fixed, staring out across the empty sea into the empty sky. And the eyes were blank and glassy with despair.
How do you paint such nonsense? What does it mean, Miss Eyre?
I don't quite know myself, sir. I dreamt it.
Dreams are inspired, so they say. Whatever inspired a speechless, half-mad thing like that? It's madness. No, it's loneliness, desolation.
Oh, is that what it means? I didn't know.
What inspires such things in your mind?
Suddenly, he looked at me sharply.
You say you dreamt it? So be it.
He turned abruptly and marched off across the moor. I looked again at what I'd painted, at the powerful, brooding head gazing out forever over a barren sea. And I knew how truly I had dreamt this thing that caused Edward Rochester to shudder. We became better friends after that. Sometimes he would seem upon the verge of telling me something that smoldered deep within him. Then the moment would pass, and he would be as before, bitter, sardonic, yet somehow kind and gentle. A mist gathers over my mind. Then it is torn asunder by terror in the halls of Thornfield. I flung open my door. A candle sputtered and guttered on the floor of the corridor, and I saw smoke creeping under the door of Edward Rochester's chamber down the hall.
Thank you, Jane Eyre. I should have burnt in bed if you hadn't come when you did.
I heard a wild cry outside my room. It woke me up.
You heard nothing?
Oh, I'm sure of it.
No. You are subject to wild dreams, you know. Thank you again. Good night.
But I did not dream that candle sputtering on the floor. What came next follows in feverish haste through my mind. Edward Rochester was gone in the morning, and when he returned a fortnight later, there was a gay, laughing company with him, and beautiful, proud Blanche Ingram. At the gay party that night, I haunted the shadows miserably, envious of her loveliness, seeing Edward prepare to waste himself on beauty that was arrogant and proud. And when I could stand it no longer, I fled into the moonlight with all my small possessions before he should learn of my jealousy, of my love for him, the master of the house.
Jane! Jane Eyre! Where are you? Come back, Jane Eyre!
Someone had seen me leave, and he had come for me, to take my hand and lead me home again, and to utter a miracle to me. A miracle.
Marry Blanche Ingram? I?
You brought her here to marry you.
I had to turn to someone, Jane. I never knew or thought. Jane, I summon you as my wife.
Oh, I knew it was his loneliness that made him love me. If indeed he did. Yet I loved him. And yet it was a miracle. For I, Jane Eyre, who had never known love, I who was so plain and uninspiring, I was loved.
I will attire my Jane in satin and lace, and she shall have roses in her hair, and I will cover the head I love so well with a precious veil, and she shall be my wife forever.
I require and charge you both that if either of you know of any impediment to this marriage, let him confess it now. Then wilt thou, Edward Rochester, have this woman for thy wedded wife?
The marriage cannot go on. I declare the existence of an impediment.
In my mind, I see again the winding stairs leading into a high turret of Thornfield. I hear the heavy bolt move under Edward's nerveless hands. The ancient oaken door swings open, and I see by the candle held high in Edward's hand the creature cowering and gibbering in the darkness, madness in her eyes, and on her foaming lips.
Behold the impediment to our marriage, Jane. Behold my wife.
Edward. Edward.
The man who challenges us is her brother. God will pity me in time, I hope. But will you forgive me, Jane?
The mists close in. The artful mind tries hard to save the spirit from too much harm or pain. I fled to Ferndean, 200 miles away, to live there with an aunt who years before had driven me from her. And now, broken and alone, she was glad to have me back, and I had no other place to go. Snow fell. Winter cried upon the doorstep. Then spring, summer, the turning and falling of the leaves. And then one night, I dreamt again. Outside, a shutter slammed. Yes, I dreamt. A great scarlet bird stood with outspread wings over Thornfield Hall and slowly fanned his wings. And the walls and turrets of Thornfield glowed scarlet too, and dissolved in the wind from the great bird's wings, and a voice cried,
Jane! Jane Eyre! Where are you? Come back! Come back! Come back!
Edward! Edward, I'm coming! Wait for me! Wait for me! The woods that border Thornfield rose over the hill, and the loud cawing of the crows broke the morning stillness. I looked up at the sky where the battlements of Thornfield stood, and saw only the sky. Thornfield was gone. But out of the wood a tall figure strode, but as one whose vision fails him. Edward. Edward.
Jane, I knew you'd come. I knew it. I knew it.
What had happened? She and the turret had escaped again, candle in hand.
There was no Jane Eyre to hear her laughter in the hall. Quenched the flames again. The flames drove her to the battlements. And there she died. I tried to go to her. The flames struck between us and across my eyes.
Edward.
Later, when I thought that I should never see again, I cried out to you to help me.
I heard you, Edward. Oh, so far away.
Yes. How odd. How very odd indeed.
The echoes are gone from Thornfield's halls. The wind sweeps unbroken across the moor and does not halt its pace for wall or battlement or turret. Another home houses our love and peace and understanding. For Thornfield Hall is gone, and the wind is master of the moor, and God is master of the wind, and of the things undreamt of in our small philosophy.
The Radio Hall of Fame pauses. Act Two will follow immediately thereafter with Lowell Thomas, Jimmy Durante, Alec Templeton, and Frederick March. Mr. Riggs, if you please.
This is the Blue Network.
American musical classic was born at Aeolian Hall, New York. It is a matter of no small pride to us that our own maestro, Paul Whiteman, urged that classic out of the imagination of George Gershwin and performed it on February 12th, 1924. George Gershwin has gone, but his Rhapsody in Blue will be with us for many years to come. Our guest, Alec Templeton, has always wanted to play the Rhapsody with Paul Whiteman, its godfather. And today, therefore, is a day of realization as well as of tribute. Variety has skillfully selected the parts, and the Philco Hall of Fame is honored to assemble those parts into a real musical event. Paul Whiteman, Alec Templeton, and the orchestra in excerpts from The Rhapsody in Blue. scholar, historian, and teller of tales geared to the cadences of living history. That's Lowell Thomas. It was Lowell Thomas, the American, who had the audacity first to tell Britain the story of fabulous Lawrence of Arabia, England's favorite Englishman. And after their first shock, the British loved it. It was a good story and a true one, and it hit them where they lived. And there lay the secret of the Lowell Thomas magic, matched according to variety by no one else in the world. In acknowledgment, therefore, Philco casts down the laurel to Lowell, and Lowell Thomas bearing his gift, the best war story of the year. Lowell Thomas.
Deems, you played both against and with my notorious ball team, the Nine Old Men, and I believe I have something here that may bring satisfaction to that patriarchal soul of yours. Remember how early in the war we heard that youngsters from 18 to 22 were needed for combat pilots because that was the age that air fighters should be? Well, I've been checking on the older fellows, and they haven't been doing so, but let's take an example. Lieutenant Commander Jim Flatley, a Navy squadron leader who himself shot down 4 Japs in one day, once said, "The best carrier fighter pilot of the war is Lieutenant Stanley Vicheza. And Vicheza, a pilot with 3 Navy crosses, is in his 30th year. This doughty fellow comes from Circle, Montana, his parents of Norwegian origin, so his pals call him Swede. They would. He won his first Navy Cross in the Battle of the Coral Sea, his second Navy Cross at Salamaua and Leh in the air battles over New Guinea. May 4th, 1943, he bombed Tulagi. May 6th, he bombed a Jap carrier. Then on May 7th of this past year, he was attacked by 9 Zeros at once while acting as an anti-torpedo plane defense flyer, flying a Navy dive bomber. Now, those dive bombers are not so maneuverable. They're designed specially for one purpose, dive bombing, while the Zeros are amazingly maneuverable because of their much lighter construction. When those 9 Japs had the jump on the lone Vejtaza, he accepted that challenge. And by such skillful flying as is rarely seen in a fight that lasted 24 minutes, he shot down 3 of the Japs. And it was then that Lieutenant Commander Jim Flatley made his remark about Vejtaza being the greatest carrier fighter pilot of them all. He took part in innumerable other raids and actions, and he had done so much combat flying that he was ordered home for a well-earned rest. And now listen to this. But for a suggestion from that same Commander Jim Flatley, Vejtaza would not have lived to earn a 3rd Navy Cross that he now wears. Flatley persuaded his pal to postpone his furlough, stay on board the carrier Yorktown for one more crack at the Japs. Vejtaza, well, his gear was already packed and transferred to a refueling vessel, the ship on which he was to sail for home. But he couldn't resist the chance of going up for one more go at the Japs. The refueling ship on which Vejtaza was to have sailed for home had just gotten over the horizon, out of sight of the Yorktown, when she was torpedoed and went down. So if he had been on board her, he no doubt would have perished with the rest. 2 days later, this 30-year-old flyer went up as leader of a combat patrol flight of 4 planes. A large formation of Jap planes moved in to the attack against the Yorktown in what turned out to be the beginning of the epic Battle of Santa Cruz. Vejtaza, leading his flight, took off, and at the first crack he shot down 2 enemy dive bombers and damaged a 3rd. And while the 2 Japs were falling into the sea, a squadron of 12 enemy torpedo planes came swooping down out of the clouds, heading for the carrier Yorktown. Vejtaza maneuvered his flight so the 4 American planes were right in their path. The Japs turned. As they did so, Vejtaza bagged 2 of them. The rest of them flew into a cloud in a tight V formation. Fantastic though it seems, Swede Vejtaza shot down all 3 of them while they were in that white mist. And so it was that in one action, Lieutenant Stanley Vejtaza got 7 Jap planes, a feat that hasn't been surpassed so far as I know, and by a pilot now in his 30s, Deems almost old enough to be one of the 9 old men.
Variety scouts are frequently brought in on litters, helpless with joy, brushing tears of hysteria out of their eyes with their elbows. A sight and a good trick. This occurs regularly on Friday nights when a certain James Durante appears on the radio with Gary Moore to make the welkin ring in the interest of Camel cigarettes. Variety acclaims Mr. Durante as one of the funniest and friendliest beings in existence, and the Philco Radio Hall of Fame accepts that characterization without a quibble. And therefore, for the second time within these hallowed halls, appears Durante, the Wizard of Schnoz, one of the best-informed men in these United States, the only man who can stay in New York and still keep his nose in Washington. Jimmy Durante in person.
You gotta start off each day with a song. Now even when things go wrong, why you feel better, you even look better. The voice of the title.
Well, it's good to see you in Philadelphia, Jimmy.
Thanks, Riggs. I got here last night. I tried to get a room, but all the hotels were crowded. I finally ends up sleeping in a phone booth, which was also occupied by a fat man. I didn't mind him crowding me a little bit. I didn't mind him trying to get a number. But when he started jiggling my nose up and down and said, "Operator, there's something wrong with this hook," that was going too far.
Oh, I agree with you. But you must be full of big news after a strenuous week in Washington.
Indubitably, Mr. Riggs, indubitably. Why, just yesterday I attended an important section of Congress. What excitement. One congressman said, "I vote $20 billion for the Army." Another congressman said, "I vote $35 billion for the Navy." Another said, "I vote $60 billion for Lend-Lease." And then there was a big commotion.
What happened?
The next congressman yelled, "I just dropped the nickel and nobody leaves the joint till I find it." That's the conditions that prevail.
I suppose that all the congressmen were glad to see you.
Concisely. And I say that with tongue in mouth. Why, as I mounted the dais, a plain platform, you should have heard the ovation I got. The speaker raised his hand for quiet. And when Congress finally quieted down, he said, "Gentlemen, I want you to meet Jimmy Durante, who has just been made $1 a year man." Then I made a speech.
What happened?
They cut my salary. The elements were working against me. When I got back to my hotel, the telephone rang. It was Henry Morgenthau calling. I said, "Hello, chum." He says, "Hello, chump." He speaks more distinctly than I do.
Well, James, you sound as though you had rather a strenuous time in Washington.
Right. And I certainly was glad to get home. As soon as I got off the train, I went right home and decided to quiet my nerves by taking a hot bath. I was just shaking some bad salts into the water. I like my tub well seasoned. When the front doorbell rang, so I gets out of my hot tub, puts on my bobby socks, my pink slippers, and my double-breasted bathrobe. I goes to the door, and who is it but my neighbor, Mrs. Schwartz. She wants to borrow a lump of sugar to put into her coffee. I gives her a lump of sugar for a coffee, and back I goes into the bathroom. I takes off my pink slippers, my bobby socks, and my double-breasted bathrobe, and sits down in a nice hot tub. I'm scrubbing my funny bone, just for a few laughs, when the doorbell rings. This time it's the back door. Once more I gets out of my hot tub, puts on my bobby socks, my pink slippers, and my double-breasted bathtub. Goes to the back door, and who is it this time? Goes to the back door, and who is it this time? What a small world. It's Mrs. Schwartz again. She's returning a lump of sugar, which is still damp from the coffee. So back I goes into the bathroom, takes off my pink slippers, my bobby socks, and my double-breasted bathtub. So back I goes into the bathroom, takes off the pink slippers, I'll get it right this time, my bobby socks and my double-breasted bathrobe, and gets back into my hot tub. I'm just starting to relax, playing with my sailboat, when again the doorbell rings. This is too much. I leaps out of my hot tub to slip on my bathrobe, and what happens? I slips on a cake of ice. My head hits the tub. My leg doubles under me, and I strains a liniment in my bacteria. So I drags myself to the telephone, calls my physician, explains the case, and says, "Doc, what shall I do?" He says, "Durante, There's only one thing to do. Stay home and take a hot bath.
Well, that was quite an experience, but tell me, Jimmy, aside from your administrative duties in Washington, you must have other interests. You like the theater?
Yes, and opera, too. You know, I lean towards Lily Pons. I leans towards her. But her husband keeps pushing me away. Now, seeking my favorite diversion last night and feeling in the pink, I steps into my plush upholstered Hanson. With my 2 footmen commanding the poop deck and my Arabian steeds going at a gentle trot, we approaches the theater marquee. And what happens? The red carpet is rolled out. My 2 footmen descend from the poop deck. They open the door and I steps out. Looking up from the gutter, I said, "Who told you to remove the running board?" I makes my entrance gallantly into the Diamond Horseshoe, picking myself up and ignoring the stares of the hoi pollou, removing my top hat, my nylon gloves, my skunk muffler, and my patent leather goulashes with the neon buttons. I looks around. Mrs. Van Skyler is whispering to Mrs. Murray Hill. Mrs. Murray Hill is whispering to Mrs. Susquehanna. And what are they saying? Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Is it Superman? No, it's a bum. You see, a vicious rumor has been circulated. Just because I work in a saloon, they say I'm not fit to mingle in any other circle. That's ridiculous. Nightclubs is just the Mr. Hyde part of me. You have yet to meet the Dr. Jekyll. I'm Durante, the patron of the arts, an opera critic and a man of parts. You know, last week I went to the opera. I loved it. All but one scene. That's where the 350-pound soprano sings to the baritone. She sings, "Take me in your arms and hold me close." Why, to hold her close, the bum would have to be curved like a banana. Those opera lovers all rave at Handel's Lago. Why, I've heard better music written by Umbriaco. Now, what I say may sound absurd, but believe me, it's true. I've seen every opera, and I'll name them for you. Tales of the Vienna Rolls, Madame Buttermilk, the Sextet from Lychee Nuts, and the Quartet from Rigor Mortis. I could go on indefinitely. I coach sopranos and tenors in their parts, because I'm Durante, the patron of the arts. Now, just the other day, they held a meeting at the Metropolitan, in the cellar. They said, "Jimmy, we're in a hole. You gotta help us out." Stepping up on a soapbox, left over from Rigoletta, I said, "Gentlemen, let's analyze this. Now, take Romeo and Juliet. Romeo has to leave Juliet. But does he say, 'Shoo-shoo, baby'? No. In opera, he says, 'I have but a moment to spend with you. A moment to spend with you, with you. A moment to spend, a moment to spend, a moment, 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 a moment.' He's got 1 moment to spend, and he's taken 3 hours to tell her about it. Why, that guy is making a federal case out of it. Then she says, 'I will give you a kiss, my love, a burning kiss upon the lips, a burning kiss, a bites, a kiss upon the lips, a burning kiss, a kiss, a kiss, a kiss upon the lips, a burning kiss.' By the time he's ready to tell her, the fire is out. I said, 'Gentlemen, there's only one way to save the opera. Get yourself new lyrics that have class and renown, like Pistol Packin' Mama, lay that pistol down. Think it over, gentlemen. I'll return in a fortnight, possibly even a fifth-nit.' They all gave thanks from the bottom of their hearts to Durante, the patron of the arts, a connoisseur, Durante, the patron of the arts.
He was the sinister Prince Silky in Hollywood's Death Takes a Holiday. Oh, you know him well for his moving portrayal of Hollywood heartbreak in A Star is Born. His performance in Broadway's The Skin of Our Teeth undoubtedly had something to do with that play's winning the Pulitzer Prize last season. All Variety has to do is pick a Frederick March performance, any performance, and that's it for the Philco Hall of Fame. Today, he has something to say that mortally concerns every last one of us. Enter Frederick March in Milton Geiger's I Pledge America.
What have they got that we haven't got? What have we got that they haven't got? That makes life better in America? Or not? I'll tell you what we've got, and you can take it or leave it. If you leave it, you're an idiot. If you take it, by the eternal, you've got to pay for it. Do you pledge to America all that's yours? All that you are, all that you hope to be? Or a part of it? What do you offer? Freedom is never free. It comes high and the coin comes hard. But someone made the down payment for you long ago.
I was at Lexington and Concord. I put the walnut stock of my musket to my cheek and hid behind a fieldstone fence and fired the shot heard round the world. But they fired back.
1812. An installment on your freedom is now due. May we anticipate early payment?
I was with Andy Jackson at New Orleans. I stopped a rifle ball. It hurt a lot, and it hurt long. After a while, it didn't hurt anymore.
1861. Another installment on liberty is now due. We trust this will receive your early attention.
I marched down the long valleys. I forded the cool streams. I bivouacked with the Army of the Republic. After Gettysburg, they sort of got along without me.
1917. In reviewing our files, we find that a payment has not been made on the freedom you purchased in 1776. Doubtless, this has escaped your notice.
I flew a Hanley page over the German lines in 1918. How did I know that that cloud was full of German planes? And how that canvas and wood Hanley page did burn?
1941. Repeated warnings have elicited no response from you concerning the freedom you purchased in 1776. This account is now long overdue. And unless it receives your immediate attention, you will have forfeited your right to the property in question. Let us caution you that once you surrender the goods, it is highly unlikely that negotiations can be reopened for its recovery. This is positively the last notice you will receive.
You'll find me lying in the marshes of Bataan. See that I get home. I'd like to sleep beside my dad. He'd like that.
Payment has been duly received and bill receipted with the customary cross. We are sorry this occurred, but in the future, such unpleasantness can be avoided by eternal vigilance. Thank you for remittance. We trust you find your freedom giving you the same fine service as ever. And now, what now? Well, one more payment and it's yours. What do you pledge, Americans? What do you offer that those honored dead shall not have died in vain? What do you offer that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth? What will you do to liquidate this debt once and for all? Or shall we forever, as the price of freedom, receive bills receipted with the customary cross? What do you pledge? Americans, what do you pledge?
America! America!
Be with us next week, same time, same station, when the Radio Hall of Fame returns with another all-star show of shows. We'll expect you this time next week at the gates of the Radio Hall of Fame. Signed, James Taylor.
Next week, the inspiring Song of Bernadette with Jennifer Jones and Charles Bickford, Jerry Lester, Helen O'Connell, Paul Whiteman, the Philco Hall of Fame Orchestra and Chorus, and others. This is Glenn Riggs saying goodbye for Philco dealers and distributors throughout the United States and Canada, and for Philco Corporation, makers today of radio and electronic materials to help win the war, makers tomorrow of materials for good living in a world at peace. The production and writing staff of the Radio Hall of Fame includes D. Engelbach, Milton Geiger, and Abel Green, editor of Variety. Joan Fontaine appeared by arrangement with David O. Selznick. Alec Templeton through the courtesy of Cresta Blanca Wines. Frederick March will soon be seen in the adventures of Mark Twain. This is the Blue Network.